Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. I'm going to start with this. So people have told me on Twitter and messages that I'm very misleading as far as what's going to happen when the dollar falls. They say crypto is not guaranteed to rise. Well, let's take a look at history. So in history, back in 2017, the dollar fell, crypto bull run. 2020, dollar fell, crypto bull run. What do you think's going to happen again this time around when the dollar comes crashing down? Because China's already pulling away from the US dollar. The other BRICS countries are most likely going to do the same thing. And country after country is getting on board with BRICS every single day because they watch the US weaponize the dollar against Russia. They don't want that in the future for themselves. And then we take a look at today. So today the dollar came down to $1.1166. Then this happened. XRP started moving up, as well as the stock market. I believe when the dollar comes crashing down, we're going to have a blow off top in stocks. That's going to be the last big hurrah before it all comes crashing down. We're also going to get that in crypto as the dollar comes down. So stocks rallied to start October and a new quarter with Dow up over 600 points. That's because the dollar fell just a little bit. World economies are starting to use their local currency as trading mechanism. Eventually, the US dollar will burst, which will lead to crypto mass adoption in the end. It's not a matter of if, but when. And that's exactly what's going to happen. These countries no longer want to deal with the US dollar. When the dollar is the highest it's been in 20 years, it's not good for stocks or crypto. We're not printing money at the moment. When China sells the US dollar and we start printing money again, and it crashes us along with others, crypto and stocks will soar, and we could see another 60K plus Bitcoin. If that dollar starts falling, we're going into another bull run. The supply of houses falls behind demand, which is one clear reason why the housing market won't crash. If you're worried about the direction of the housing market, read this. This is coming from a realtor. And I said it many times that they push this narrative that there's a massive housing shortage. You need to get a house today or you're not going to get one. And you need to buy it at the all-time high. But the fact is, because you're in crypto, you know better. You want to buy the dip. You don't want to buy at the all-time high. In yesterday's video, I said, is the American dream dying? The reason I said that is because think about it. You have these kids going to college. Maybe some have already graduated, got a job, saved up a little bit of money. Now it's time to go buy a house. So they go and they put a bid in on a house, but here comes BlackRock with a much higher bid, outbidding them. Because BlackRock is buying up real estate left and right, pricing out the working class all the time. On top of that, I said the American dream is dying because kids are going off to college expecting the dorm experience. Instead, they're living in their cars in Walmart parking lots because the cost of living is so high. You know, at one time in this country, you went to school, you got a high school education, you went to work in the local factory, you saved up a little bit of money, you went out and bought your first house. It was a nice house back then, I'm sure. But the thing was, you had a good life. You lived the American dream. I don't see that becoming possible right now with the way everything is so inflated in price. That's what I meant by that. Search for the real estate market crash are the highest in internet history. The reason it's like that is because other people feel it coming also. It feels a lot like 2008 all over again. But I believe it's going to be much worse this time around. Business Insider trillion-dollar man Dan Penna expects a painful market correction. The veteran investor explains why newbie traders are at risk and reveals how he's prepared for a crash. He knows a crash is coming, but like I said, I believe there's going to be one more massive blow off top in the stock market first. DXY almost $1.15, insane. $9 trillion lost in the stock market this month. Sheep better wake up. Your 401k's wrecked. You'll own nothing and be happy. Blow off top is $1.20. Bet? And again, now we're starting to see the dollar coming down. Country after country is going to pull away from it, crashing it out. The more Fed hikes rates, the more the US dollar rises. In turn, the more other currencies collapse, resulting in higher inflation in those countries and deeper recession. In short, Fed exports US inflation. That falls when dollar rises, and recession to the rest of the world. What empires do. And as the dollar's been rising, we're watching all the other countries' currencies drop. I believe that's why China said we're pulling away from the US dollar, because the yuan was dropping also. Who do you vote for if you worked hard and saved your whole life and don't want to lose your 401k to inflation? People like you don't care about people like us at all. And that's what's true. Think about it. Also, part of that American dream was saving. You had money in a checking account or a savings account for rainy days. Now, all of a sudden, that savings is getting taken away due to inflation, and it continues to rise, stealing everything from the middle class. Fed Chair Jerome Powell made one prediction that will upend everything for Joe Biden. Now, I'm not going to read all of this, but I want to show you a few things in here. So, the Fed hoped for a soft landing of bringing down demand without crashing the economy. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has been optimistic about the Fed's ability to engineer a soft landing. After the latest devastating inflation report, Powell predicted pain would have to occur for the Fed to get inflation under control. We've got to get inflation behind us, Powell told reporters. I wish there was a painless way to do that. There isn't. And then Powell's remarks came after the Federal Reserve announced another 75 base point interest hike, with even more rate hikes on the way. He's going to continue with the rate hikes. I could almost guarantee you that. So just in, New York Fed President John Williams says inflation will likely come down to 3% by next year. But first, there's going to be a lot of pain, as Powell said. Just in, average 30-year fixed mortgage rate increased to 7.06%. And again, making it harder for people to buy a house, as interest rates also go up. Will Jerome Powell care what the UN wants or says? UN calls on the Fed, other central banks to halt interest rate increases. And like Powell said, he has to do that in order to get inflation under control. November 8th, the midterm elections. Now, here's the thing. Once we go into voting season in November, you have to vote again for the person who is totally against the New World Order. You have to vote for the person who's not jet setting around the world in private jets while they're preaching climate change to the rest of us. That needs to stop. And then you got this, socialist citizens and socialist leaders. Now, we see people living in their fancy mansions. They're so out of touch with us here in the US. You know it, because they always come out on TV and they tell you how great things are going when you know better. You're living through crisis after crisis after crisis while they paint this great picture of rainbows, because they don't feel the same way we feel. U.S. Senate appoints ambassadors to 4 foreign countries. Pelosi keeping Italian ambassador open for herself. Hope new Prime Minister of Italy vetoes the plan. New Prime Minister of Italy is the start of fighting back against this New World Order utopian fantasy. And we just watched what happened in Italy. They elected that new Prime Minister, and she's totally against the New World Order. You need to do some research on these candidates before November, before you go out and vote. The younger generation definitely needs to go out there and vote because they have the most to lose. You got to think about it like that. The people pushing the New World Order agenda are old. They're not going to have to be here to live through it. We are. That's why it's so important. You want a better future? you need to vote for the right people. It's no more about left wing and right wing, because politics to me are all garbage. And I'm going to vote for the people I feel that will fight back against this. This is what's important to me. I just hope once I vote for them and they get to, into the government at some point, that their views don't change like we see time and time again, also inside the US. But here's the thing, you got to keep an eye on the DXY. Keep watching it, because as you see the US dollar falling, you can bet crypto is definitely going to take off at some point. With that said, I'm going to wrap up today's video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. You grew this channel into something amazing. I can't say it enough, really. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.